what you have here, the red line, is the growth in jobs. The other line is the growth in domestic demand across the system. And the gap between the two is actually extraordinary based upon history. Essentially, in late 2010, Australian firms were hoarding labour because they remembered the time of skill shortages, labour shortages. They'd overpaid to get people in the chair, and they didn't want to go through that again. So they ignored the fact the economy wasn't great because they thought it would be in 6 to 12 months' time. It didn't get great. And so now they're recalibrating their workforces, and it looks like they've maybe overshot in terms of weakness. But this is influencing the security of incomes, and this affects spending decisions, lending decisions, borrowing decisions. If you ask people very specifically about do they think they might become unemployed in the future, they have become more anxious. And you can see here that we're not quite in a financial crisis state, but we're certainly at a time of pervasive uncertainty, and this is undermining confidence. I will flick on from that, and I'll get on to house prices because I know time is getting short. Across New South Wales, the housing market has weakened. There's a little bit of regional diversity. You can see here that there's a few regional centres mapped as well as Sydney. But basically, house prices are either flat on a year ago or they're down slightly. And then if you look at Sydney specifically and the inner, outer and then middle rings, it's actually the inner city which is doing worse. And that may be related to the fact that high income earners are really starting to feel the pinch, and the more blue collar areas of the city are much more resilient. But if I come directly to the outer suburbs now, you can see that once again pretty flat house prices, but actually quite resilient relative to the weakness which is evident in the inner city right now, where the white collar workforce is having a few problems, feeling very insecure about their debt levels, and so turnover in the inner city has come off and prices have come off accordingly. But in the outer suburbs, as you can see here, a bit more resilient, and prices actually still growing in certain areas. I will skip that. And I'll finish on this point here. One of the reasons we've been arguing interest rates should go lower is that housing affordability is still a problem in Australia. Despite the fact that prices haven't been rising for about a year now, and in some cases have been falling, it's still not an easy market for a first home buyer to get in. And there was no first home buyers grant in the budget like we got back in early 2009, which actually stimulated the last upswing we had in house prices. This time around, no particular policy stimulus for housing. So that leaves interest rates to reduce debt servicing costs to a point where relative to average incomes, house prices start to look affordable again. And on our forecasts, and this incorporates the fact the Reserve Bank cut interest rates by 0.5% the other day, plus our forecasts are going to have an equivalent cut over the next 6 months, the level of affordability is actually going to get back to a level similar to where it got to in the financial crisis when prices fell, but probably a better point of comparison is the late 1990s, which was a period of quite flat house prices across Australia. This is before the boom, the investor housing boom that took Sydney by storm in the early 2000s. We're getting back to those kinds of affordability levels. And once you do that, you start to realise, well, the downside for this market is actually probably quite limited, and the idea that more stimulatory policy settings by the Reserve Bank can actually gain some traction, and a sector which is currently a very weak part of our economy can shift towards a strength. This will take time. It is a story more for calendar 2013. It's not going to happen immediately, but we are expecting to see some signs that there are some green shoots coming through in housing, because it's just becoming incredibly affordable. And when you're affordable and scarce, as good housing is in Sydney, then prices should be okay going forward.